Mr. Guy, you sound so articulate. You sound like one of them. I say, you mean I sound white? I said, there's no such thing as white.
Yeah.
You're being articulating in a way where you could be understood.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the BHPN Podcast Series. I'm Dr. Nick White. I am the co-founder and managing director of the Black Healthcare Professionals Network, BHPN, and I'm excited to be joined here today with Andrew Guy. Andrew is an author, a speaker, as well as a psychotherapist, so he has a unique combination of business, entrepreneurship, and healthcare background. Andrew, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. I'm really thrilled to be here.
Great to have you. So Andrew, why don't we start with your coaching business? What types of clients are you working with and what types of services are you offering?
Well, first of all, when we think of coaching, I think of it as an individual who sees something that the client doesn't really see. Right?
Okay.
And for me, it's high performance coaching. We talk about high performance, talk about individual who are responsible for other individuals, your managers, your CEO, your C-suite, individuals who are carrying the weight of an organization on their shoulders.
Right.
And here's why that is key, is because they're not allowed or permitted to not show up.
That's correct.
They're not allowed or permitted to not say no. They're not allowed or permitted to not go all out. These are individuals who have to be on their game at all times. The drawback to that is that they don't really know what's going on underneath the hood.
Right.
There's depression, there's stress, there is anxiety, there is that feeling of, do I really belong? I'm carrying all this weight, but who do I complain to? Who do I, just let down my guard and be myself in front of? So my coaching helps people to understand who they are, that they're first human being, and separate the person from the title. Because a lot of people just see title. They see a doctor, they see a lawyer, and it's like, all of a sudden, they put on this persona, like I may have to behave or act a certain way because of the title. Mm-hmm. I try to help people separate the title from what they do. To say, hey, you hurt. You need to have self-compassion. You need to give yourself a break. You need to have compassion for yourself and put health and wellness in there to make sure it's part of the full package to taking care of you at the end of the day.
Wow. And I think that's so important because often people who are at the top,
yes,
whether they're, a doctor running a clinic or a CEO or a lawyer,
yes,
they don't have anyone to talk to. And often even just sort of the average option that they might find with therapists out there may not be comfortable with those types of clients, right?
No.
So what you're offering is very catered to those highly performing, high functioning individuals.
In other words, it's for those individuals who don't feel that they have the comfort zone and the safety net to just let down their guards.
Right.
Because they're always on.
Yeah.
They're told you need to be on all the time. Every time I see you, you have to be the CEO. Every time I see you, you have to be the lawyer. Yeah. You have to be the go-to guy. You have to be the quote-unquote Michael Jordan at all time.
Yeah.
But he's a human being.
That's right.
Who does he tell he's tired?
Right.
How does he manage family and all that? So the coaching is really to help them to understand, separate title from you, the human being, so you can take care of yourself.
That's excellent. And I imagine you see a lot of burnout in that space, right?
Yes.
People who are just at the limit. And, often in our society, we equate success, money to happiness. I'm sure you're seeing that's not necessarily a direct correlation.
Dr. Nick, that is such an amazing question. And I think that a lot of people who are on this quest to become my next upcoming book called Win Where You Are. We took a while to get that out because we needed to get trademark and everything done. So we've been working on that and finally got our approval for a trademark. And the purpose of me bringing that up is because people are waiting to become, but they're not waiting to actually serve themselves. Right. And so the burnout comes where they feel like they have to burn the candle on both ends. And who suffers? The people that they think they're working for. I'm working for my family, but the family doesn't get to see you.
Right. So
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the burnout is a big issue. So how do we help them to understand is to take the big project or the big question, the elephant question in the room and subdivide it and say, okay, fine, let's chunk it. Let's work on this a little bit at a time.
Wow.
A little bit. So you can have small wins, not tomorrow, not next year, but right now.
That's great.
because you have to qualify
So
now
important.
for the next stage. You understand what I'm saying?
So they need to be available in other areas of their life, right? They need to show up for their family too. It's not just the work, it's also what they need to do at home, right? To stay
Dr. Nick,
happy, to stay balanced.
that's beautiful the way you
Yeah.
curve that up. It's almost like a curveball. I feel like I need to take a swing at that. But the thing is that high performers, they show up for everyone else.
Yeah.
Except themselves.
Except themselves.
And the people that they say that they're going out to battle for.
Right.
So we need to help them to understand, take care of yourself, separate the titles. When you come home as the husband, come home as the father, come home as the mate,
Right.
come home as the spouse, leave the title where the title belongs.
Separate the work.
Massive separation needs to happen, and they're not doing that. So that's kind of what one of the main struggle is.
That's great. Okay, so in your practice with these high functioning individuals, are you seeing higher rates of things like divorce or even addiction, things that they may be great at hiding, but, deep down inside, we know that some people who are really successful might have higher rates of things like alcoholism or addiction to even, gambling, money, sex, all of those things. Is that something that comes up?
Yes, it comes up. And I want to reframe that as opposed to saying addiction. I think the general term is addiction. But when I look at it from a therapeutic perspective, it's really a coping mechanism.
Right.
And the purpose of the coping is to help people to survive.
Yeah.
Whether it is just for that moment, whether it's for just that week, or it's for just that quarter.
Okay.
From an entrepreneurial perspective, they're trying to survive from quarter to quarter. Am I in my second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter? And just trying to look at it like basketball. You know what I'm saying? You go hard in the first and second quarter, you might relax in third.
Yeah.
But, fourth, you want to finish strong. But to answer your question, though, when you look at all of these things that are happening in terms of addiction, the common term, I call it a coping mechanism, because you will see this coping mechanism come up because of unfulfilled dreams, unfulfilled needs that were not met as a child.
Okay.
Right? And so I coined the phrase, look who is in the driver's seat, because this is one of the chapters in my book. Like, who is driving you? Is it a who or a thing?
Okay.
So you think you're driven by the success, but no, you probably had lack and neglect when you were young. So now when I grow up, I gotta have this, I gotta have, and so we burn the candles because we're really trying to meet the need of the wounded child that is driving the car, and you have become an adult passenger wounded because of the child that is traumatized that's driving your life.
So it's a lot of digging deep, right?
Oh,
going back to the child, the trauma, all those things that always comes up.
Yes. It always comes up, Dr. Nick, but we don't address it. We look for the nearest carpet and shove it underneath there and continue to walk. Or we look for the nearest closet, stuff it in there and shove it and close the door and think it's, oh, well, maybe I'll take those out next Halloween or the next holiday. But it's an everyday thing that we're noticing. We have to address these things. And some of it requires deep inner child work. Yeah. My background is in schema therapy, and it's based on the work of an American psychologist. And we talked about how this child, when it's not met, the needs are not met, they come up again. And Dr. Jeffrey Young is the psychologist I'm talking about. He said, well, it's unmet.
Yeah.
The job, the car, the house, the property, the more money will not meet that void.
It's filling that void, that hole, right?
Correct.
It's just never enough.
And we fall in after because we're trying to fill it, but then it takes all of us to fill that need.
It does.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about your books. So, we've got two amazing books here. The first one is Work Your Words. So can you tell us, who is this written for? What are we going to get out of reading this book? Who's this for?
This book is for the individual who has issues with self-communication.
Okay.
It's not so much about what people say to you or me or my son or any individual. Is what you say to yourself that makes the difference. Work your words, meaning that if it were to pay you, if you work negative, you're going to get negative. If you work a word that says I can't, don't expect to do something and say that I can. Work your words is for the individual who want to transform their personal narrative.
Right.
How did that book come about? I was a teacher in Jacksonville, Florida. At the time, I was looking at going into a medical program, got into a medical program. The money ran out. In 2008, stock market crash. My son was about 1 year old at the time, and I had to make a decision. Do I continue to go this way or take care of my family, right? And I'm working with these individuals now. I left from the medical program, and I went to work with a school district in Jacksonville. And 95% of the students in the population look like me. They had my paint job, right? They were blacks.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there's a mixture of other race. But the consensus was that I'm no good. I'm a nobody. I'm going to get shot. I'm going to go to jail. I'm going to end up like my pops, or this is the narrative.
Okay.
And I'm coming from a Caribbean background where, man, let's go. You know, we're like, I can do this. Let's do this thing. So I brought all this energy on the campus and I said, we need to change the words that you're using.
Okay.
You know? And so the whole concept of the book came about because the students were saying they can't. I said, take the apostrophe off, take the T off, and you can.
Wow.
Whatever you put in a can, you should be able to digest that. Nobody can put anything in a can't.
That is true. I mean, words are powerful, and the words we say to ourselves, right?
Yes.
And often we have these automatic negative thoughts that are immediately negative and push us down. And so it sounds like this book is teaching us how to change that conversation,
100%.
that internal dialogue.
100%.
That's great. And I think it sounds like a lot of people can benefit from something like that. Now let's talk about this book as well, the Work Mindset Journal. So is this more of a practical application, or what's the difference, and what are we going to get out of this book?
This is more of a practical, hands-on, reflective, where it's like a journal.
Yeah.
You have specific prompts, and this is mostly for my high-performance individual based on a workshop, the Work Mindset. Okay. So when I bring them in, I said, okay, fine, you're not coming in your suit, you're not coming in your, your white coat. Leave your titles out here. I want to see humans.
Wow. Okay.
Right? So the work mindset is the same mind that we've acquired to use to facilitate all the different things that we're doing out there in life, the titles. But I want you to be human when you come here. Absolutely. Have a work mindset, a willingness with obligation. And the obligation means that I'm obligated to the people who paved the way for me to be there. And then the R for the reliability. Can you count on yourself? And then the K is for the knowledge. Do you actually know who you are before you step into a room? You see what I'm saying? So I want you to develop this work mindset, a willingness, obligation, reliability, have knowledge of yourself more than just the occupation or the vocation that you have. When you know who you are, no other identity will do.
I think that's important. You know, as a physician myself, we often identify with being a doctor. I'm a doctor, I'm a physician.
Yes.
You have to leave that somewhere else, because that might go away one day, and then who are you left with, right?
You.
So it's like getting to the bottom of who you are as a person. Right?
100%.
And I like that it's a workbook.
Yes.
Sometimes we have these self-help books, and you read through the thing and you think that was great, but you're not actually doing any work. So
no takeaway.
This sounds like it gives you a chance to actually sit there and work through this process.
It is a process. It is a program. So when individual come in, and I try not to have a whole bunch of individual at these masterclass or workshop, it's more around 25 people. So, it is highly concentrated. So I can work the room and talk with these individuals and said, here is your issue. Here, we're on page 5.
Yeah.
We can do it on a Zoom, but when you're in the room with these individuals, it's specialized and it's targeted.
Okay. So these workshops you're offering currently, and do you work with like corporate clients, individuals, all of the above? How does that work when someone signs up for one of these programs?
So we have a corporate client where, let's say, for example, a clinic would say, hey, listen, we're going to bring in Andrew E. Guy to come in and do a workshop on this masterclass. So I will go in and I'll do that for the organization. Yeah. So from that, when I go there, I may have an individual say, Andrew, I need a deeper dive.
Okay.
I love what you just did a while ago, but this have to be specific. Just like the therapy, you might have general presenting issues, but when you come to the therapeutic intervention, it needs to be specific to that individual.
Yeah.
We may be Black individuals, right? But our upbringing and backgrounds are different.
That's
So to
correct.
answer the question, yes, it's general when I do from an organizational perspective, but when I go there, I will have people that said, Andrew, I need a deeper dive. And then that becomes a one-on-one
And that's
coaching.
an individual
Yes.
program.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Now, I want to hear a little bit about your background. So you mentioned Caribbean background. Where were you born and raised?
Well, I was born in Jamaica. Had a really rough upbringing, but I always tell people, don't look like where you come from. Look at where you're going, right? Grew up in St. Anne's, but I was born in Kingston.
Okay.
Not your typical birth. You know, I was born in a taxi cab.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting.
It's interesting because it was just one of those situations where mom had to be resilient, and I had a father wasn't that present. And so it was just one of those situations where mom was resilient and then got everything worked out. Was born in Kingston and then taken up to Jubilee Hospital. After that happened, then I went to different foster homes. I grew up in different foster homes because mom left to come here so she can make a better future for us.
Yeah.
And then came here in 1988 and then trying to find myself, working the right words was a thing. Who they say you are. You're typically from Jamaica, so you're supposed to be able to do this. No, what is that? That's a culture, but who are you as an individual?
Right.
So I had to come here to Toronto and grew up in the Jane and Finch, not area in that location because Jane and Finch is just the name of two streets.
That's right.
Right? So I was in that community, and then from then on went off to Seneca College and then got an acceptance for to go to Southern Arkansas University.
Okay, that's amazing. So you came from Jamaica,
Yes.
which is, a culture where, and my dad's Jamaican, and he said, he didn't ever experience racism in Jamaica. It was just, you never even thought twice.
No.
Right? And then you come to Canada.
Boom.
In the 80s,
Yes.
when, there was a wave of immigration
Yes.
from Jamaica, but, of course, I imagine it must have been a bit of a culture shock to be now in a predominantly white society and to be a minority for the first time. Can you talk about what that transition was like?
Well, there's always a transition in life. It doesn't matter if you're coming from another country or moving from city to city. There's always a transition. I think for me was because I didn't have the primitive schooling, the early age schooling, then that was a challenge for me. Reading was an issue because I didn't get to go to school as much. Math was an issue. Critical thinking was an issue. Confidence was an issue for me. So I find that instead of seeing it as a race-related experience, for me, it was so much more personal because I'm trying to find this guy who spent all these years in these foster care without mom or dad. I was like, I need to find me. I'm like taking on the airline, motto, put your mask on first. So I was really spend most of those years learning who I am, my idiosyncrasies, what I like, what I didn't like. And so that was the meat of it for me. Was there racism? Yes. When you get into the workplaces, when you start to do something for yourself and you say, I want to change my disposition, that's when you will see the racism because the barriers to help you to get into those gates, then all of a sudden they're up.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned that you went to Seneca College.
Yes.
What were you studying there?
I love science.
Okay.
I just loved it. So I started doing general arts and science. There's the program that they have there. And it's for people who kind of like the science, but like the arts, but wasn't sure, right? But I took this program because I struggled with reading for many, many years. I spent most of my high school years in the library counting words, learning how to read and praying and say, God, if this thing ever click, I'm going all the way, right?
Okay.
And so one day clicked, but then I applied to Seneca College after I finished Westview Centennial. That's where I went to school on 755 Oakdale Road. And then I went there and took this GAS program because I wanted to learn more about science. The program took me 3 years to get done because I had to take courses over and over again. And so, and I say that without shame, to let people see that it's never where you start, it's how you finish, right? And that's why I understand individuals who struggle with this self-esteem and confidence. I said, I've been there, man.
Yeah.
I've had to take it a course over a couple of times.
You're a testament to work, right? Because you had that barrier, that language barrier, the reading and writing problem. And now you're an author, right? So you had to put in the work. You had to teach yourself. I'm sure there was a lot of maybe embarrassment, shame around not being at that level when you came here?
You know what? I've learned over the years, and this is hindsight looking back, when you don't see shame, there's a sense of internal power that gets released.
Right.
Because when I separate, and this is part of my coaching when I do work with high performance, separate your title from who you are.
That's right.
And you become free. Because if somebody say, oh, Dr. So-and-so, no, I am just Andrew.
And they say shame is the worst thing because it's feeling like there's nothing you can do about it, right? Like it's okay to have guilt from past because you can make those changes, but shame is something that can be such a weight on people. And so it's something that many people carry around and they don't even know it, right?
It's a massive weight. It's almost like having a big hammer and it's like self-induced. Shame is not somebody shaming you, but it's a self thing. You know what I mean? So just to kind of get back to your question, working and going to school and trying to make it and learning how to read was all part of the process makes me who I am today. And so I bring all this experience as I left Seneca College and then had a couple of individuals that I've known, and then they were looking about going to university, different places. And we started doing some research about what can I do with what I have, Then applied to some schools in the United States and then got into the program at Southern Arkansas University. Okay. And there was just this other hurdle.
Yeah, so that's the next chapter for you is Southern Arkansas University. Wow.
Yes.
Completely different culture in Arkansas, which is the South, essentially, right?
Completely, 100%.
And obviously you're Black.
Yes.
And, there's a very kind of institutionalized, racism in the United States with Blacks and whites.
Yes.
And so what did you study there? What did you learn and what did you experience from that?
Great question. I'll start with the experience first. First of all, racism is everywhere. I coined it. I had to rephrase racism so it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
And I said it's a bunch of humans that are running a race that is unending and will never stop.
Okay.
It can be visible and it can be invisible. The racism that I see here in Canada is more covert.
That's right, yeah.
From the power of the pen.
Okay.
Right? The racism that I will experience in the United States, especially in the South, it's more in your face. They will tell you, I don't like you. I've gotten pulled over several times by police officers and they said, boy, you out here after 6, this dangerous time for you to be around here.
Wow.
And what am I going to say? Oh, that's racist. Like, okay, let me get home. Let me get back on campus. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's no time for me to sit there and say, whoa, that's a racist. I say, okay, fine. This is advice. It's for my safety. Yeah. And so, boom, I get back on campus. So the racism is there. You can make it affect you or you can allow it to educate you. You see what I mean? And the racism, I believe, comes about because people are not exposed to other cultures. It's lack of knowledge and understanding regarding another person's, as we say in Jamaica, autopsy or background or lived experience. Okay. If I know what you've been through, then I wouldn't treat you like that.
No, you wouldn't.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that changed it. But my field of study, I went there and I said, let me take kinesiology and recreation because it's around the sports. I like science, but then I was thriving in this program.
Okay.
I said, for a guy who didn't know how to read, something is wrong here. Because I love to read now when I figured it out. So I started reading a lot and it's clicking. And I said, okay, wait a minute. So I was having like a 3.98 in GPA. I was like, okay, wait a minute. Something is happening. And then I noticed like there were other students that were walking around on campus and they had these white coats on. I'm like, what's that about? Like, what's that? Like, what is that? Yeah. Someone say, oh, those are the med students. I said, what? I said, wait a minute. What they're going to be a doctor. I said, I want some of that. Like, let's get some of that.
Yeah.
So I went and met with the person in the biology club and they said, okay, go talk to the advisor. And if you want to switch your major, you can. So I said, yeah, of course. Switch my major. And then, man, it was tough. So I switched it to biology.
Okay.
Right? And here I am majoring in biology now, feeling nice, feeling like, yeah, I'm going to do something that matters, But it was difficult. So organic chemistry was hard for me. I had to come back and face the math again,
Calculus.
and calculus, and all of
Physics,
that, everything
all of
came
it,
back.
yeah.
Struggled, but I weathered through it. I met Dr. Johnson. Dr. Hugh Johnson is one of my microbiology professor, an amazing individual, probably one of the best professors on the campus. White gentleman, 6'5", country as possible, and he'll tell you, it said, guy, you better come inside this lab, you're gonna do good work. If you don't do good work, you're gonna have a problem.
Yeah.
It just told me straight up. I didn't look at it as racism. I look at it as, again, I reframed it as information, right? And he said, okay, fine, I expect good work from you. Okay, I don't care about your color. I just see you. You say you want to be something, you're here in my class, I expect work. I said, but I don't have a book. He said, okay, no problem. The publishers send out books. He said, okay, fine. He popped open a case and he ripped out one out of the package. Said, here you go. I don't expect nothing less than an A. So how are you going to fund your school? He sat me down. Just mentorship started right there.
Wow.
He said, how are you going to pay for all of this? I said, well, I'm working in the cafeteria. I'm working in a computer lab. I'm doing all these different things. He said, okay, great. You got another job. And he gave me a job working in the microbiology lab.
Wow.
And I worked for him the entire time until he passed away, bless his heart. But when we talk about race, if you're looking for it, you will find it.
That's right.
If you're seeking it, it will find you. But we need to make sure we're reframing that the racism that we experience is a result of people not understanding your background, your lived experience, and where and what you have had to overcome.
Right.
Had they walk in your shoe, their thought patterns will change.
Okay, that's great. Really great point. If you're looking for the racism, you'll find it anywhere you go.
It's
right?
everywhere.
But if you kind of change the context around it, then your whole approach to life changes, and that's something I've also tried to embrace. So it sounds like that mentor was really important for you.
I had several of them, but he is the guy that stood out to me because why? He looked like my palm. And when I look at the whole, trajectory of everything is, well, maybe that shouldn't work because I'm a black guy. I have an accent, Now I've kind of curtailed the way I articulate certain things because language can become a barrier. So I speak in a way where individuals can understand me. But when I'm around, my culture is just, straight up Jamaican, it's just like big things are going in other place. Yeah. But when I'm dealing with the general public, I said, I want you to understand me. I want to be understood. So here's how I'm going to articulate. Right. You see what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that's the reason for that, being able to be versatile in your linguistic approach. So therefore you can be understood.
It really is powerful.
It is
sure
power.
As a speaker,
it's when you work the words, it's powerful.
As a speaker, that really means a lot. And that's really something, command of the language.
It is.
Being able to talk to your audience is something that's key,
very important. Because everyone is not going to be from Jamaica, right?
Right.
And we're talking about human beings and their needs and their lived experience, their letdowns, their failures, and their success. That's a human thing. It's not a culture, right? If I want to deal with an individual now, then I need to make sure I can separate and make it more individualistic to meet that individual need.
Right. So, it sounds like you wanted to pursue medicine, but eventually there was a barrier, financial.
Yes.
And you had to make a really tough decision.
Yes.
Do I continue this or do I kind of focus on my family, start working? Talk about that step. What did you do? Is that when you came back to Canada?
It was a struggle at first because I sent my son, who was about 1 in a couple of weeks at the time. And my wife is from the Bahamas. Okay. And met her at the university, Southern Arkansas University. And then I said, okay, fine, I had to make a decision. So when I got accepted into the program in St. Augustine, I had to decide, do I stay here and struggle? And part of it was pride. Do I let them see me struggle like this and couldn't afford to eat and couldn't pay the rent? And that's when the cultural pride kicked in. Man, you're Jamaican, man. Just you get up and go. We have a get up and go attitude. Right. We don't sit back and just let things fall. Let's come on, let's go. So I said, okay, what do I have to do? Make the decision and say, okay, fine, why don't you go back and stay with your mom for a bit and let me weather it out here. Weather it out mean I was sleeping in my car Had a 1991 Acura Integra, black on black. You get it?
Okay.
And the sun wasn't a great thing. And so that was my one apartment.
Wow.
So I was sleeping in my car in the, on the premises, and did that for a while, and till 2008 when the stock market crashed. And I decided, okay, fine. I went into teaching. I was praying. I'm also a spiritual individual too. So I was praying about and looking for guidance and speaking to some people, and then made a decision that, okay, fine, maybe I need to opt out of this program.
Mm-hmm.
And then a school district called me and said, listen, I don't know how they got my information. I didn't apply. I don't know how this happened. It was some intervention or divine intervention. This is what happened. And I got a phone call. They said, okay, fine, I have your file in front of me. I said, what file? I didn't apply for anything.
It's amazing.
And then it was in Jacksonville, Duval County. I went up there for the interview. They said, well, here's a position. If you want it, we see that your background is in science. You've done great in your biology and all these different things. So this is what we're looking for. So I said, okay, sure, no problem. The principal said one thing to me, say, you got your work cut out for you, because most of the kids look like you.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if there was some kind of underlying thing, whatever. But from then on, I went into teaching, and I taught for several years in Jacksonville, and became teacher of the year because I saw myself in these children. And when they were working, they were saying that they can't. I told them that they can. And they said, no, we don't believe you. I said, okay, here is my story why I tell you can. I said, I was born in a taxi cab. Okay. Wow. I said, this is who is talking to you right now. Forget about the biology degree. Forget about, because I went and did another master's in kinesiology also. I said, forget about the master's degree. I said, I want you to hear me. You can do this thing. I'm here to tell you, I'm living proof. I didn't read this in a book. Here I am. He said, but Mr. Guy, you sound so articulate. You sound like one of them. I said, you mean I sound white? I said, there's no such thing as white.
Yeah.
You're being articulating in a way where you could be understood, because the person who's not understood is misused and abused.
Yeah, that is so true.
You see what I mean? So I have to teach them how to work words and let them see the power of words and how you work them. So I went into teaching, and I taught for several years. And then while I was teaching, our students were struggling with the confidence and in science and so forth, and they didn't pass the science portion of the FCAT, Florida Comprehensive Assessment Test.
Okay.
It's like a general test that you do here in Canada, but that one is Florida specific. And I had motivational workshop. I did after school. I did everything I could for them to succeed. I took a portion of my check just to buy food for them. Went into the neighborhood, partner up with chicken shops. They call it chicken shops down there, but the KFC and different places, pizza places. And I bought food for them. And I said, if you study and you give it everything you got, only you can stop you. And then I did that for several years. And then the grades started going up. The district started recognizing, said, what are you doing with these kids? These kids couldn't pass a test back in the day. What are you doing? Who are you? I said, I'm the new science teacher here. And then grades went up, marks went up. And then they pulled me from the classroom and said, I need you to start going and doing all these presentations to all these other teachers to show them how you're impacting these students' lives in the classroom. And got a chance to go to Vegas, man.
Wow. So that sounds like it was the start of your work now. It sounds like it was the beginning of this whole concepts that you now have around coaching and mentorship and leadership and all the things that you're doing.
Wow. I had to walk through it. And I also said, that nothing wasted. We think that because where we're coming from is so tumultuous, it is such a dark past that we can't even look back. We can't even share it with other people. But that's the triumph of the mind. Yeah. When you realize they didn't work against you, they work in you, they work for you. I said, that's when we reframe it and said, all things are working together for my good. You know what I mean? And say, how can I use this to work for me? And so this is the concept that I bring to my coaching program. Okay. Is to help people understand, once you separate the title, you're left with you. Once you put down the coat, you come home, it's just you. Who are you behind that coat or behind that office or behind that title? That's who I work with. We call them high performance and high achievers. And I've been doing it throughout my teaching career. And so I brought this here now, and I'm doing that now to help other people.
That's great. And so you're running a business now. You're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
How did you learn how to be a business owner? Is this something that you're learning as you go? Was there ever anything in your educational process? How did you get the skills to kind of worry, understanding things like your accounting, your bookkeeping, your corporate structure, your marketing?
They would say it comes serendipitously. And it definitely means that it comes by accident, but I don't think anything's an accident.
Okay.
When I was in the United States, as I tell my son all the time, I said, son, you have to realize that streams are important because all the streams lead to some river, and the river into the ocean is never full.
Right.
How does that come into entrepreneurship? That you need to make sure that if you have a service, you can boldly tell somebody what it is and explain how your service helps them or meet a need or solve a problem.
Okay.
When I was on campus, I was selected as the president of the International Student Association, right?
Okay.
This is a guy who couldn't read. So all of this started coming up in my leadership, and we have over like 2,000 people in our group. We're able to do different presentation with different cities and so forth. So I was meeting other individuals who were making decisions. I was meeting with the president of the university, Dr. David Rankin, every single Monday. He's a Caucasian guy. How does this guy from Jamaica get some meeting with this guy every week? Why is he on the calendar?
Yeah.
I go and sit in there just like I'm talking to you. So Dr. Rankin, we have so many students that are coming to international. The state gives you about $5,000 per student. I mean, if you do the math, you realize that, we are bringing in some money and we continue to bring some money. What can we do for our students who are high achievers, who have like 4.0s, but they don't have a scholarship? So I rallied for those individuals. So my early years of leadership and this person who advocate for individuals who are deserving started there. And so after I started doing that, attention started coming, people started supporting, and then they voted for me to become the president. But how does that turn into entrepreneurship? I realized that I can use my influence to help other individuals who come from similar background or even different backgrounds. Then after that, I got into comedy because I love to make people laugh, because it's a Bible story. It said, you know what? It's like laughter is a medicine. And I realized when people were sad, if they're laughing temporarily, almost like their personal therapy, I said, okay. I started doing all these different shows, different high schools, and money came with that.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? I said, wait a minute. I can do this.
Money started flowing.
And the money came in, streams.
Right.
So I was working on campus doing all of these different jobs, in the cafeteria, in the computer lab. I did everything I could to stay out of trouble, but to be productive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I realized I can monetize my skills. I went out and I started doing all these shows at these different high schools, and the principals would pay me. I said, wait a minute. I took that money and then I reinvested. I learned how to cut hair and stuff like that.
Okay.
So my friends would come to my dorm and I'll cut their hair and they give me a tip. And all of a sudden, wait a minute, that's 20 hair I cut. Like, somebody just gave me $5.
Yeah.
So I started putting these, connections together and realized that if I have a skill that I can monetize, it will pay me just like my words. And the words, what I speak, will attract the right people. Okay. So I put that together as business, right? How do you sell? You don't even have to sell. You just say, what is your problem? You do an assessment. Okay, my problem is ABC. Okay, do I have the skill set, the background that will be able to solve your problem? Okay, I can do that. Now, the next question is, what is it worth to you? What price would you put on that? Because the problem that I'll solve for a CEO or for a medical individual or a person that's a high performer would be a complete different, price tier.
Right.
Because their problems are different. Exactly. Our problems are bigger.
Yeah.
So you base a solution based on the problems that you solve. So that has helped me in my entrepreneurial mindset and journey moving forward, whether I'm doing a corporate workshop or an individual coaching. And now we're getting ready to launch our new psychotherapy program called I Work Upstairs.
Okay. Wow.
Right? Because that's where I'm going to be focusing. And we registered our domain and everything. And we're getting ready to launch I Work Upstairs. So if you work upstairs, I'm talking about, it has two meanings, up here. And then the people who are up there. because they're the one that's making the decision that's going to affect everyone down there.
Right.
So if I make sure those people, the head is okay, then the head will think and it will trickle down to the somatic tissues that are involved in the moving and pulling and pushing of the business.
Understood.
That makes sense?
So yeah, I mean, so at a kind of an early stage, you saw the importance of learning how to leverage.
Yes.
You talked about talking to the dean about how, you knew the money was coming in, you knew that was an opportunity
Correct.
to create leverage
Yes.
to then get a benefit from yourself.
Yes.
Whether it's cutting haircuts for your friends, there's a need there.
Yes.
So that's a really entrepreneurial
Correct.
mindset that you have there, which I think is really important. For many of our members, they are the product, whether they're a doctor, a social worker, a psychotherapist, a dentist. You've done a great job at branding yourself, as the speaker guy, with all of the different various books you've done, your website, your new program. Can you talk about the importance of your building a personal brand for healthcare professionals and how that can be something they can leverage in the future to get more business?
Well, first of all, we have to think of branding as not a business. Branding is you.
Right.
You are the brand before there was ever a brand. You have to become before there is ever a product that come after you. You have to make it before your marketing even speak.
Okay.
You have to make sure you are a well-oiled machine. So when we talk about branding, you cannot separate the brand from the person. I would start with the individual. Who are you? What are your goals? What are your values? Because you can build a business and then the business, it undermines your actual character. And then you find that you're doing other things that are contrary to who you are or your values. So branding must be specific to that individual. It must be something that reflects your values. It also must be something that when you stand back from it, it can stand alone and represent you based on your belief and your character. At the end of the day, branding is about character.
Right.
And character is just your personal video camera that follows you everywhere. How does that relate to entrepreneurship? That whatever product and service that you're offering to the public, it must be something that you can stand in front of and then put the product in front of you and stand behind it. That means they see you, and they say, yeah, that's the person. And then when they don't see you, which is the product, they still know it's you.
They know the character.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They should see you twice. Before the product comes.
Yeah.
And then when you leave, when the product is there, they still see you.
That's right. That is really important.
So that's kind of what I look at it. How can they use it for healthcare? Everyone needs healthcare. Healthcare is a staple. But healthcare must first start with you. How could you sell healthcare and you're not healthy? How are you selling mental health? You're not running, you're not jogging, you're not doing your box breathing exercise, you're not taking care of self. So how can you sell that? So this is why I say when we talk about entrepreneurship, you must first do it. You must first become it before the it or the product ever shows up.
Yeah, it's about being authentic.
Yes.
And the only way to do that is to actually live by your own sort of narrative, by your own words of wisdom, as you say, People see through kind of a facade. If you're telling people, oh, I'm a weight loss coach, but you yourself don't practice what you preach, people will see that, right?
Yes.
And I'm a firm believer as well in that.
Absolutely. And I've been following some of your work and stuff, and I say, okay, fine. He believes in fitness. I look, I see you're writing, you're doing all this marathon running. I said, this guy is living the dream. And I say living the dream because many people are dreaming to have what you have, but they're not living it.
Wow, that's
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're still in the incubational portion of just dreaming. Like Martin Luther King said, I have a dream. We've passed that. We now need to live the dream.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
And there was a period of time where even I fell off of my own fitness and I wasn't doing that. And my business suffered. It did. And I had to take a break and kind of get back to the fundamentals, and now that I've kind of gotten back to the basics, exercise, taking mental health breaks, all those things, it's been so much better for me as well. So it's totally, it's definitely true what you're saying here.
My niece just graduated medical school and she's now in residency, right? And I'm so happy that, she's doing an amazing
great.
job, and just being a Black sister, going to be bring more representation into this business of medicine. What advice would you give those individuals who are just coming out of med school right now?
Well, number one, you do have to still take care of yourself, like you
Correct.
said.
Yes.
So you have to find the time to exercise. Sleep is such an important thing.
Yes.
It does catch up to you.
Yes.
You know, I mean, there's going to be weeks and months where you're going to fall behind.
Yes.
That's just how it goes. But you still need to put aside the time for yourself, for your family, for your hobbies, all of those things. That's really important. I found that the big gap was in understanding that we're going to be running a business. You know, people don't know that doctors in Ontario, we're running a private practice. Like, we send bills to an insurance company, which is OHIP.
Yes.
We also bill other insurance companies.
Correct.
Like, it is a publicly funded private healthcare system.
Correct.
And so you're going to have a corporation, you're going to have to file taxes, you may have employees, you may have professionals that you work with, accountants.
Yes.
You'll need multiple bank accounts. You'll need to know about your savings and how to pay off debt and how to get insurance. So this, you know, with the BHPN, we do offer those basic skills. We offer some basic programs, and that's one thing that absolutely she should get involved in. And any doctor should look into some business 101 and just try to talk to either your bank or financial institution early on, so you have a plan in place, right? Because before you know it, you've been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years. You never set things up properly, and you can run into big problems. So
that's fantastic
kind of
advice.
I would give. Yeah.
That's fantastic advice. When I look at physician, because I do have a few clients that are physician, a few surgeons. I do have a few dentists that I'm working with, oral surgeon. But it brings back to memory when I did a workshop for a group of dentists. And one of their complaints was that posture has become an issue because they're standing and they're doing all these, you know, surgical procedures for hours. And I said, how much time do you spend working on your core? How much time do you spend stretching? How many times do you weight shift during that particular procedure? I said, you need to be aware that you are the engine, even if the engine hasn't fired up. You have to make sure you take care of that engine, because the body will rust and it'll fall down, but the engine is you. And the body I refer to as the business or the corporation that you work with, but you are that engine that makes it go.
You're basically like a professional athlete. You still need 100%. To do your training, your physio, all of those things. So I agree with you on that one. I want to talk about what's coming up next for you.
Yes.
Okay. So you told us about some exciting news. You've got a new website coming out. Is there a new book or a new program? Talk about what's coming next.
I'm really excited, first of all. You know, I think I Work Upstairs is going to be a trailblazer for counseling and therapeutic interventions for high achievers. You know, first of all, we talked earlier on about the safety where high achievers feel comfortable. Our slogan is simply this: it's a pathway for high achiever and a safe space for high performers. And with I Work Upstairs, it's going to help us to get into those spaces, to start this conversation that most people don't want to have those conversations about. We'll talk about the big elephant in the room. What's the real deal? What are they hiding? What's underneath the carpet? What's behind the titles, right? So I Work Upstairs, we're getting ready to launch that probably in the next few weeks. We're going to be launching that, working on that right now. We're also working on my next book called Win Where You Are. That's going to be coming out before the end of this year. And everything moving forward in terms of my coaching program and so forth is going to be built on win where you are. It took us a while to get the trademark and making sure everything, dot all the I's and cross all the T's. And so when you get your piece of paper from CIPO, you know, Canadian Intellectual Property of Ontario, that's a big win. You know what I'm saying? Because that means that you actually own something. You know, you don't own your home, so to speak, but this is it. I own this. You know, anyone says this or use this, that's my intellectual property, and here is the trademark, right? So we've been waiting on that. And so in the coming few months, then the book is going to be launched called Win Where You Are.
Win Where You Are.
Don't wait to become.
Absolutely. So that's amazing. You've got your IP in place. IP is so important.
Massive.
People don't know what that is. What does that mean when you say you like you trademark something, you own you own this now. This is
You
your
own that entity.
Yeah.
This is you. This is your brainchild. You have basically given birth. And given birth, it might be the idea. Going to the trademark, when you go to the trademark of Ontario or the website, you can look up information, find out. And yes, it's good to get legal advice, but I've learned how to read.
Yeah.
I'm talking voracious reader, looking for information. I'm curious. And I spent months reading this thing. How do I apply for this thing? Watching videos.
Oh, that's
and
good.
I did all this myself.
Awesome.
I didn't use a lawyer.
Well, you can save a lot of money that way, right?
Thousands of dollars.
And now with AI, it can make that process of researching a little easier too. I do that myself sometimes.
Yes, that's great, man.
But for a lot of our audience are interested in that type of concept because we have doctors, we have dentists, we have people who have ideas and need to start by making sure they own that intellectual
They need to own it. Yes, and get that piece of paper to say, boom, your name, okay, CIPO tells you, oh, this is yours, and this date, and moving forward, it's yours.
That's amazing.
You can actually, this is what I call wealth.
Yeah.
Because when I move on, it's not just wealth, but it's liquid asset. So when I move on, I can say here to my son, hey, this is now yours. This is yours. You own that.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Amazing planning that you've done there. So where can people find you? I mean, I know you're also you're on Instagram.
Yes.
You have a website as well.
Yes.
What's the best way for people to get in touch with you if they want to access some of your services?
Well, right now they can find me at andrewguyspeaks.com.
Okay.
Andrew Guys Speaks with an S.com. You can find me anywhere out there on Google, the web, Google, anywhere, Andrew Guys Speaks. And then in the next couple of weeks or months, and I'm going to get ready to launch, I Work Upstairs. So for a therapeutic intervention, they can reach me at iworkupstairs.com. We haven't released the website yet, but we have all that information. And that's for the therapeutic intervention. And if it's coaching and speaking, it's just andrewguyspeaks.com.
Okay. So you are available to do speaking engagements.
I am very much available.
And you do individual work, you do workshops.
Yes.
For people who want individual, coaching, can any of that be reimbursed by insurance?
That's a question that was asked.
Yeah.
So coaching is different from therapeutic intervention.
Okay.
So that your OAP or your regular insurance may not cover that.
Okay.
But if your organization cover professional development, right, then they can do that.
So even for people who are like, say, doctors who have a medical corporation, they can use their corporation to pay for some of these services.
Correct.
So it's not coming out of their personal.
And then write it off.
And they can write it off as an expense. So that's a great,
They get on the phone, call Andrew. Hey, Andrew, I have about 15 or 20 of us here. We love what you're saying, but we want to get some more of it. Can we get on your schedule to come in and I'll do an assessment for them. I'll do a needs assessment for them. That way we're not going in there and just doing something willy-nilly or just blind eye. No. It's assessment, find out where the needs are, where the gaps are, and then we go in there and meet those needs and speak to those issues. So
even for free, we can talk to you and find out what if it's a good fit, and you can put something together.
Yes, because that's part of the assessment, and then it goes with the initial consultation.
Yeah.
We have to be a good fit. Okay. I'm not going to come and say because I'm a coach and I work with all these different individuals, then everyone is not for me.
Yeah.
And I think that it needs to be specific to that individual. Yes, you meet a general need, but then you need to make sure it's curtailed to meet that person's need and or that organization. Okay. So it needs are specific to individual and organization. So yes, consultation, they'll get a consultation. We'll get on the phone. Probably it's a Zoom call. They can see me. I can see them and say, okay, here are the issues. What are the issues? What are you trying to do? Give me the goals that you're trying to do. And then boom, I say, yes, let's make it happen.
Okay. So Andrew, just lastly, is there anything else you wanted to tell the audience today about your journey? If you have any advice for people who are up and coming, what do you have for us?
I want to say that never count yourself out. I also want to say that when you think about your life is but a gift. It is the living that validates the gift of life. Because if you have the life and you do nothing with it, you did nothing. And lastly, I want to say that win where you are. Don't wait to become. Because every time you get up, you must qualify for that step that is the process of winning where you are. I have to qualify for every step so I can move to the next level.
It's a great philosophy for life and
Yes.
a great approach.
Yes.
Andrew, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. For those who have been listening, make sure you check out Andrew's websites, check out his books, Google him, Andrew Guy. And sorry, what was the website once again? Andrew Guy Speaks.
AndrewGuySpeaks.com.
.com.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks you again, Andrew. Appreciate you.
Thank you so
coming
much for the time.
on. Awesome.
Yes.